Welcome in to another episode of the Real Wisdom Podcast, where every week I take a deep dive into the trenches of the film and television industries. I am your host, Derek Diamond, and this week I'm happy to welcome Jessica Payne to the show. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing really well today. How about you?
I'm doing good, and as we were mentioning, before we started recording, I've been looking forward to this ever since we booked it, because you actually deal with not just with acting, but you deal with helping actors with, camera presence and things like that. Something that I wish I had when I first started doing video podcasts. So
Exactly.
this is going to be a fun conversation.
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah, absolutely.
So I always like to get started, with to begin these shows with kind of getting the backstory of the guest, because as I'm sure you know, there's not like a how-to guidebook on, how to get into the film industry, whether it's acting, screenwriting, or directing. So what was it that drew you to want to become an actor in the first place?
I actually started off, I grew up on a dairy farm in Pennsylvania. So I grew up, you know, around cows and not that many people. So I was always the kid that was like acting and singing and putting on shows for anyone that would watch. But I loved watching movies and watching musicals and anything that kind of helped transport me and help me to kind of see that wider world. And so I really fell in love with that. And then I fell in love with, from second grade, I was Miss Mousy in the school musical that was probably 7 minutes long. And ever since then, I've been hooked. So for me, it's been finding myself as a creative in what am I excited about now? Who can I get to kind of play in the sandbox with me? And how can I use those skills to further my career? So I started off learning music as a singer and then going to school for acting. I got my MFA in acting so I could teach acting as well as perform. And I worked in theater a lot. So I did national and international tours of children's musicals. And so I was Miss Frizzle in the Magic School Bus national tour. And I got to go to China and perform in a lot of things that I really just loved and were special. But I realized that my first love was actually film, because that was the thing that wasn't just the people in the room. It was doing something once and kind of capturing that magic and then being able to share it with people all around the world. And that really, I had benefited so much from seeing other cultures and other people's stories and other people's life experiences through film and TV that I really wanted to be a part of that. So then I switched my focus a little bit more to film and TV. And that's just been something that I've been doing as I've been acting and as I've been teaching. I taught acting at a college in Hollywood for 8 years. I was an acting professor and also taught directing and directed a lot of the shows. And, my students from there are doing amazing, incredible things. I do not want to name drop because they are their own artists, but they are in movies that you will see this year. They're in TV shows that you will see. I see them on billboards, and it makes my heart sing to see people that are so passionate and so dedicated out there nailing it. And so for me, seeing people succeeding so much made me really passionate. And that made me kind of want to get back to film and TV myself and creating myself. So I actually, about 2 years ago, quit that job and have gone off on my own. And I have my own company, Kika Labs, KIKALABS, where it kind of sounds like key collabs. So I try to reach out to people that I want to work with and create things that I want to create and coach people who need to be more comfortable on camera. And so use those same skills of acting and directing to help actors. So I'll help actors for their film and TV auditions. And then I'll also help podcasters or people like yourself that want to do, their first YouTube channel or a video podcast, or they want to make their reels better, or they are really excited about creating, but they're more comfortable maybe with the like off the camera sides of things than when the camera is facing them. And so I've been really blessed to be able to help people with that side of things in this iteration.
That's a long journey from being someone who grew up on a dairy farm in Pennsylvania.
I, I have to tell you, I have my own podcast as well, which is called Creators Cafe. And with mine, I kind of invite local LA creatives here. And I live in West Hollywood. I'm close to the Sunset Strip. And so I'll have somebody that like just wrote a show that there's a billboard for when I go to get my coffee, or a director that I really admire or something. And I like pinch myself that these are my friends, or these are people that are in my circle. And I just the miles I've traveled, not that one is better than the other, but just that I'm in a place where people that I know and love are doing what makes them, their heart sing and they're excited about, is just, it's incredible.
Yeah, and it really is. And what I'm curious about, and you've done all these great things in film and TV, and then your stage work and being able to travel all over the world. Did you have it kind of in the back of your mind at some point throughout your career that maybe you wanted to give teaching and coaching a try? Because you mentioned being a professor at a college for numerous years. Where did the desire to become a teacher come along?
I think both of my parents were teachers at one point in their careers and like educators at heart. So I first taught theater and acting when I was in eighth grade in 4-H. It's more been kind of parallel careers for me. So it's more that I was already, while I was studying for my MFA, I was already teaching classes of 70 people how to act. And it's more been weaving in and out of, as I'm acting, I'm also teaching, and teaching makes you better at acting, and acting makes you better at teaching. And so it's much more, I think we have such a stigma about creatives doing other things or having day jobs or having some other way to support them. But I think everybody has skills and gifts that they can use to support themselves as they move forward. And I'm just lucky that mine is, you know, helping other creatives to do this thing that I love better. And so they really work hand in hand and both make me better at each other.
And you bring up an interesting point too, and I was actually going to ask you that: is that does the teaching help you with your acting? Because I find that helping, say, like if someone asks how to do a podcast, and I talk with them about like microphone
Mm-hmm.
setup, camera setup, and things like that, like choosing your topic, it makes me think, okay, well, how can I get better? Or it ends up helping me better. Or if it's helping somebody, with producing a short film, or it might be directing or something like that. Teaching really can make you better as a performer, and really no matter what you do. And that's and plus everyone's going to need,
Mm-hmm.
like, there's always going to be a demand for teachers, whether it's in English, math, creative. Like, you have to learn how to do something. You can only teach yourself so much. And plus I learn by
Yeah.
watching. So if I see somebody do something, that's how I learn how to do it.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. I think there two things that I want to explore there for a second are, one is it absolutely makes me stronger because I have to both articulate what it is that I think is good and we want to aim for. And it might be something that I naturally was doing, but as soon as you have to articulate it, you get better at it because then you can do it on purpose. And it helps you to see what other people are doing that maybe you haven't thought of and you want to fold into your work. So every time I see somebody else doing something I'm inspired by, or I'll, steal it from my actor's toolbox myself and, pay homage to, I'm doing this because this person brought that in. And then also there's this idea that as you are kind of moving forward in your career, you both want to help people to move up with you and kind of benefit from that mentorship. And also, there have been teachers who have been incredible and so supportive to me. And then I've had some experiences where maybe people didn't see me and my potential. And so I'm really passionate about being somebody who looks for the potential in whoever I'm working with and trusts that they have something really beautiful and special to give. And we just have to find the path for them to feel good and comfortable and authentic in what they're doing. And I think that's where my current real attention and passion is I am, I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a writer, I'm a podcaster, I'm a coach. But whatever creative project I'm working on, I want to work with wonderful people who are really trying to bring their love and light and their best to whatever it is we're working on. And I'm going to help them, and I hope that they help me too.
Well, what's great too about working with different groups of people is that you yourself get to learn more. If I'm looking at it
Yeah.
from a someone who's wanting to learn something, I want to surround myself with people that are smarter than me and better at me at that particular thing, because watching them and having them explain it is going to make me better. And that
Yeah.
a lot of people are too, I don't know if ashamed is the right word, but I've learned that especially in today's day and age, there's a lot of people that don't want to admit they're wrong or they don't know how to do something. I don't know if it's an ego thing or whatever the case may be, but part of it is kind of being a little humble about being like, okay, well, I don't know everything. And you
Yeah.
want to learn stuff to make you better.
I actually, I'm really grateful. One of my friends is bringing me on as a producer in one of his short films. So he's kind of worked with me with casting things, and he's seen me from the acting side. But I'm really grateful for people who see potential in others, and he knows my passion for kind of producing my own things because I've produced shorts and I've produced my podcast and things like that. But he sees my potential to kind of be an executive producer at a higher level, and so he's bringing me on to a big project to kind of nurture me and shadow me. And I'm just so grateful for the people that see the potential in others and help them develop it, and then also trying to be that person who, you know I've done a lot of things, but I also definitely don't know everything. And it's the holes in the knowledge that always gets me. It's the like, I think I know all about this area because I've worked on so many projects, but I don't know what I don't know. And so I think finding ways where you can contribute to a project or you can make something yourself so you can kind of learn about those areas where you don't know and stay humble enough to be a good part of that collaborative process while you're in the middle of it.
That's such an underrated talent to have, to see the potential in people.
This
Like that's part of what I think makes a teacher great.
Yeah, and I think that that's actually carried over to my directing as well, because if you are a teacher and you're given a class of 20 people and you have to find a way for them to succeed, then as a director, I think you're more open minded to look at the casting and say, okay, well, typically it might look or sound like this, but who can I give a chance to that maybe doesn't usually get roles like this? Or have I considered putting a different type in this role? Have I considered somebody who's older or younger, different ethnicity, or, just trying to like bring a more inclusive cast together? And I think, personally, I think as the Hollywood and the entertainment industry and everything is going through such major changes as it is right now, I'm really excited for the shakeup and how people can advocate for themselves and for other people to make those productions moving forward more inclusive and see the potential in people who are really excited and willing to work and willing to kind of throw their all in, even if they don't have maybe the resume or the experience of somebody else.
I have actually a funny story about
Yeah.
the you mentioning, the shakeups with having like, more diverse casts or casting someone you wouldn't expect. So
Yeah.
this past summer, my wife wrote and directed her first short film that I helped produce, and we filmed it over the summer. When we were doing auditions, here in the studio that we have here at our house, and one of the roles was for a small town pharmacy customer. and you're thinking, okay, it's going to be, an older woman who's can't keep her mouth shut, tries to put her nose in everybody's business and things like that. And this older gentleman came in. He had this thick Georgia accent, and he read for that part, and he got it. And you would never think
Yeah.
it would be an older guy in that role, but he was one of the. It was a small role, but he was one of the best parts of the whole movie, just because of his delivery.
Absolutely. And I think that's always a call for us as actors and for our agents for, you definitely don't want to submit to everything because then you're just kind of muddying the
Right.
waters and then, casting directors already have so much to look at. But I really do think that if a part calls to you and you think, no, I'm a good fit for this. I want to get in there and swing. Even if you're not selected, it is definitely the kind of case that I've gotten calls from directors I've worked with 4 to 10 years in the past, and they say, "Hey, are you available for this thing?" Because they remember me from the past and an audition for something that I booked or maybe didn't even book, but they remember that strong of a impact that you make whenever you really are passionate about a part like that. And kudos to you and your wife for being open minded enough to cast somebody that doesn't match exactly what you imagined at the beginning, because I think it's that flexibility from the filmmaker's perspective that opens the doors for people that might not have had a chance. And that kind of willingness to collaborate of here's my vision, but then you also are open to meeting the artists with their vision. That's where the magic happens.
The magic of collaboration.
Yeah,
That's what
definitely.
makes film so great.
Yeah, and we love I I think we can see it and we can feel it when it works, right? If you see an ensemble that is loves each other and respects each other. I just saw Sean Baker's new movie, and I was lucky enough to get to go to like a screening of it before it came out, and the cast. And you could tell they all adored working with him as a filmmaker, and it came through in their acting so brilliantly just because they were willing to play and take risks, and it was so crisp and alive and fast and funny. I mean, it was really incredible, and it's because you could tell he set them up for a successful experience that way.
And I think that's, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned through filmmaking and even with doing this podcast is that you shouldn't be afraid to take risks. Like you said, if you audition for a role that may not
Mm,
necessarily be in your wheelhouse, but you kind of feel it and you think, okay, I might be a good fit for this. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is that you don't get it. But then at least so not everything
yeah.
works out, but you don't know if it
And
doesn't
you
work.
learned and you got
Yeah,
better.
exactly. And like with this podcast, growing up when I was a teenager and even through college, I dealt with some pretty severe social anxieties. I've told this story on the podcast before, but I took
Mm.
a public speaking class my freshman year of college, and we had to do an impromptu icebreaker speech on the first day of class. And I was so petrified that I almost cried standing up in front of everybody. So years later,
Wow.
when podcasting starts to become a thing and I start to listen to them, I'm thinking I could potentially do something like that. And plus it gave me a way to confront those fears. Like it almost took the option away from me. And since then, I've taken more chances and getting involved with the film scene here, working on my own projects, working on other people's. That wouldn't have happened, I think, if I didn't start doing the show and confronted my fears on it.
That's incredible. And I just want to say congratulations both for the fact that you hit 400 episodes is an incredible amount of work with the first iteration of your podcast. And then to pivot and kind of say, I did that, I'm proud of that, it ran its course. And here's what I want to focus on next. Here's what I'm excited about now. I think so many of us are scared to reinvent ourselves and to take a leap and not be great at something or have to go back and put new energy into something that has been working in the past, that I think that really speaks a lot to yourself as an artist, honestly, because that's what we do is we keep thinking about what's the next project, how am I going to put myself out there, how can I create something that's relevant and I'm excited about and is I want to be out in the world now. And to your point about the public speaking, and I think this goes a lot with what I find with people that want to be in front of the camera is, and maybe you have some kind of challenges, is this is also a big secret that I found with a lot of my favorite actors that I've worked with, and definitely with directors and writers, is that a lot of the people that you love and respect have some kind of anxiety as well, because a lot of us as artists are really sensitive and really empathic and really attuned to emotions, and so we just feel everything really strongly. And so anytime you get in front of a camera, you're going to feel that adrenaline of, and now it's even more important. So I think finding ways to make it feel exciting, but maybe a little less scary as a starting point is good for a lot of people. And then for some people, maybe for you, it's that like, I'm going to find a way to do it, that I'm just going to do it and I'm going to just make it work and it's going to work. And so for some people, it's the video podcasting. For some people, it's the like, I'm going to show my face, but I'm not going to talk. So I'm going to show my face and I'm going to show myself doing something I'm comfortable with. And I'm just going to get used to doing that on camera and just performing a truthful action. Like, I'm going to cut up vegetables because I'm really good at that. Or I'm going to, do my hair and makeup because I'm really good at that. And then I'm going to put words or a voiceover over it. A lot of times it's those kind of baby steps that help people to get more comfortable. And then when the kind of panic subsides and you can get past that and you can kind of get to the meat of what you're excited about and passionate about and really actually want to communicate, that's when you get to actually talk to the other person and have a two-way conversation, even if it's a pre-recorded you talking to your audience kind of one-sided looking thing. Of course, when it works is when you're having a conversation with someone in your head who's real and you're answering their questions, or you're helping support them, or you're sharing this knowledge or wisdom that you've got with them. I think that's another reason that your podcast is so powerful, is because you're finding people who are in the middle of it. Like, we hear so much from people who are A-list stars, but they're at the top of the mountain. And I think it's really interesting to hear from people who are in the middle of it. And like, on a messy Tuesday afternoon, what does your life actually look like in the filmmaking world? What are you doing? What's happening? What's on your calendar for the next month? That's really powerful too. And so I think if you can find, I guess it goes to that, like, what's your why? And I think you've got a really powerful why of sharing that wisdom, learning things for yourself, and then sharing it with others. And I would just say, for anybody that's watching and listening, if you don't feel comfortable on camera, if you can find a powerful why that's either about bettering yourself, learning, growing, getting better at a skill, and or helping somebody else, then you're going to be able to combat those fears and that nervousness, because it's not about how you look. It's about what's actually happening and where you're going and growing.
That's a perfect soundbite. It's not about what you look like. It's about what's going on around you. No, I love that. No, but it's 100% true. And, I wouldn't recommend that everybody do exactly what I did, because not everyone is the same. And that's kind of exciting too, is that you get to find what puts you over the hump of, whether it's, you might get in your own way, which I know I've done to myself plenty of times. Whether it's a fear of public speaking, whether it's a fear of anything. It's exciting to hear the stories of finding out what they did to get over that hump. And it's just like, when I talk with filmmakers on this podcast, you hit the nail on the head. It's not, and sure, I'd love to hear Robert Downey Jr.'s story or another A-lister story, but it's the ones that work a 9 to 5 and then they immediately come home and they start working on their film, whether it's a script or if they're producing. Those are the stories that I like to hear, because they're they inspire me. You know, when I feel like, oh, this is tough. I've worked all day. I'm tired. I didn't get much sleep the night before. I love hearing inspiring stories like I've got to hear on this show. I've heard, I've listened to some episodes of your podcast, which I love, by the way. I love the name of it. I love the concept of it. It's great. Um, yeah, this
Thank you.
inspiration is such a powerful thing. It's just finding that right spark for you.
I agree, and I think there's something about the balance for me of like, especially if you're a career creative and you're committed to this long term and you've seen some success and you have some like frustrations with where things are currently. That's when I find it's the most powerful to actively look for inspiration and find the people that it doesn't matter kind of where they are or what the inspiration is. It might be silly or sound weird from the outside, but finding your way in that actually excites you, because it's really easy to get discouraged. And I've found that the people who are the most sensitive and sometimes the most prone to discouragement are the people that have the sweetest, most wonderful art to share. And so anything I can do to help inspire them with stories or tactics and techniques and take away any kind of barriers, or whether it's like mindset or tech barriers or what's the best resource to look for right now. Anytime I can match people with something that's going to help them take the next step, that's just so satisfying, because there's so many times that I've been in that position where it just feels like your tank is empty and you feel burnout and you feel sad and you feel tired and you just think like, is it even worth it? Ugh. And you just, you honestly have to find a way to keep your fire burning if you want to keep going. But I think that a lot of us blame ourselves whenever it's low. And instead, it's just find some oxygen, find some fuel for that fire so that you can get to the next step. And sometimes that's knowledge, and sometimes it's storytelling, and sometimes it's seeing somebody do the thing that you want to do. And sometimes it's just finding little tiny, tiny ways to build success for yourself. I often find, especially with my on camera clients, doing anything in tiny bites, but repeating it gives you that feeling of momentum. And so, like, you just have to be okay with, like, I'm not going to love this. I'm not going to be great at this, but I'm going to do 10 videos or short films or podcast episodes or whatever it is. And by the end of the 10, you're going to have learned so much. Even if you don't love it and you walk away, you'll have learned so much about yourself as a creator and what you can do and what you can learn, that you're going to find a new level of confidence for whatever the next step is. So I definitely recommend baby steps in whatever direction you want to head.
When you bring up a saying that I heard a couple of years ago, and it's one that I really try to stand by, and I think it's really impactful, it's that repetition is the mother of learning. You mentioned, whether it's taking like 10 podcast episodes or 10 like 1 minute videos, it all starts with something. It all starts with one thing, and then one thing becomes two, and then two becomes three. You get more comfortable, you get more confident, and you learn that you can do this. And that's sometimes I have to do that with myself too, with whether it's, this podcast, if I say like go through a dry spell where I can't book a guest, I'm thinking, do people not want to listen to my show anymore, or do people not want to participate in it anymore? But you just keep trying. There's been times that I almost say you shouldn't be afraid of failure, because no one wants to fail, but in a way you have to be unafraid of failure. An example that I tell podcasters is that I can remember a few years ago, I sent out over 30 emails for guest requests, and I heard back from zero. So I had to come up with something else. So
Wow.
yeah, and I mean, it
Yeah.
happens, you know,
Yeah.
not every,
No,
not,
that's I'm a professional actor, so I
I was
get
about to say,
it.
yeah, absolutely. So it's just, even if things don't work out, you know, and we'll just flat out say it, if you do end up failing, it's okay as long as you learn from it and you improve on it, and then you get more fired up for the next time.
Right. And you found a way to, I mean, we're talking today. You have 400 plus episodes in the can. So that was just a snapshot in time. That wasn't failure. That was, this path didn't work. There's a concept in acting that I love to apply to this that is, you might have heard kind of the joke about an actor saying to the director, well, what's my intention? So your intention is your goal, or what it is that your objective is that you really are excited about and aiming towards. But how you get there is with action steps or tactics. So it's kind of like, I live in LA and I want to go to Vegas. There's one road I could take that I usually could take, but if that road is under construction, then I could fly or I could take a different road. So that's just changing tactics. So I just think of anytime I'm failing, I try to think of it as, okay, do I still care about this goal? Because maybe I don't care about this goal. If it's not worth it, it's not worth it. Move on with your life. It's fine. And sometimes that's the lesson. But if you actually care about the goal and you still think it's worth the effort and something that you're excited about, just change tactics. Try and experiment with some other route to your destination and change that mindset from like, this didn't work to, great, that way didn't work. What's the next way I can try? Because it's not that you can't reach your objective, it's that you have to find a different path.
Yeah, the driving analogy is perfect because if, say, like the one road, if it's under construction or, you know, God forbid it's destroyed and you have to take a different path,
Yeah.
that new path might have some nice scenery. You might find a nice restaurant. You might find a nice coffee shop. You find something that you didn't expect, but something that can be like a lifelong effect on you. You just never know. And that saying really is true, that the journey is usually more exciting than the destination.
Yeah. And it depends on what it is you're aiming for. But a lot of times there's so many satisfying ways to either get there or someplace just as good that are going to be more enjoyable on the journey as well.
Yeah, for sure. Something I'm curious about with you doing your, you know, your coaching, you do like on camera work, whether it's for acting, for on camera interviews, things like that. You don't have to name names, but has there been any particular like client or student that maybe had an emotional impact on you? Maybe seeing like some of their struggles that motivated you or had an emotional impact on you?
I will say kind of two things. So, from the coaching side, I was one of the people that took my college through the transition online whenever we were going through COVID. And so I was seeing, I'm getting emotional. I was seeing students who had established lives in Hollywood and then had to go back to their sophomore bedroom and do scenes from these incredible plays and movies in their like high school bedroom while they were going through a pandemic. Some of them were like coming out of having COVID. Some of them were not in the best living situations or had some real tough personal things going on. And I am now benefiting from seeing and staying in touch with those students. And I'm seeing people that I taught from my living room remotely in major movies, making their career as a director. I'm just getting goosebumps talking about it. Just the fact that they were able to say yes to themselves through those obstacles. And we said, okay, this isn't how any of us planned it, obviously, but how can we make a 5-minute short film with you in Alabama and your partner who is in Brazil right now? We're going to make it a short film that we film, and I'm going to direct you through the camera, and we're going to get footage from both of your cell phones, and we're going to set up your shots in your locations so that they look like they match, and we're going to make an incredibly powerful 5-minute short film that was recorded remotely. And those people are producing and directing and acting in real projects right now. And that's just incredible to me that they were able to say yes to themselves through such major challenges and continue with real careers. And then from the coaching on camera side, I really love working with people who are good at what they do, and there's something between them and being successful on camera. So I had one client who her teenager actually said, "Mom, you need a couple of glasses of wine before you're allowed to do any more recordings on camera because you are so stiff. You've got to loosen up." And just getting to find the ways with her. And she's a very successful woman who's confident and proud. And as soon as she got in front of a camera, she just tightened up. And all of us have different things that happen. And that was her thing. And so with her, we were able to find ways to use the lighting and the sound so that she looked better instantly. And I don't mean like in a vain way, in a like the light was behind her head. And so we put it off at a 45-degree angle like you do. And we found ways for the, what she was wearing to match her background and look flattering with the colors of her company. And so as soon as she saw that, she didn't even have to talk. She just felt better because she saw the instant improvement. And then we brought in things like, recording her while she was doing silent things and then putting in just text over top of that and music. And then we brought in her talking to the camera, but just for a short amount of time. And just seeing her arc of how she was able to open up and get more comfortable. And, her teenager even approves now. So I feel like we earned the real seal of approval.
Whenever the teenager says, you need a little bit of wine in you. But props to the teenager though for saying that, because it's everyone needs that honest person in their life.
Exactly. And it brought her to me so I could help her, and now she can do it. So I feel like it's a win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's next for you? Do you have any acting projects that are coming up in the works? And tell everyone where they can find your courses.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of different projects in the works. I just filmed a commercial, and I have a new agent. So I'm with Sovereign Talent Agency here in Los Angeles, and just signed with them. So I'm really excited about that. And then I'm working on writing a short film. So that's just in the beginning process. And I am continuing my podcast and I'm in pre-production from the production side for a short and a feature. So those are both in the works. But right now, kind of professionally from my company side, I'm focusing on the acting and on-camera coaching. And I have 2 digital courses that people might also be interested in. One is for people that need to be more comfortable on camera for interviews for a job. So if you just need the basics of like, where do I put my camera? Where should the light be? How should I sound? I would recommend that course. So it's called Level Up Video Interviews, and I'll send you the information for that. And then I have the on-camera coaching. So I do one-on-one either with actors or with people just through Zoom, anyone that wants to get more comfortable on camera. Some coaches I know do like huge packages and you have to commit for a long time. I'm happy to help you for 1 hour. Like we can help you I work a lot of times with somebody that like wants to be more comfortable in their video podcast or wants to have me look at their reels and help them, find a good spot in their office or their home. So we can do those kind of things, for 1 or 5 or however many different sessions. And then my other course is maybe something that people in your audience would be interested in. It's called the On Camera Academy. So that's like if somebody wanted to start a YouTube channel or wanted to kind of create a reels, like a bunch of reels for their business, or they're trying to create on camera, but they don't have any idea what to do, either from the technical side or exactly how they want to like clarify their creation. I made that course for somebody who wants someone to walk them through it. So I kind of take it as if it's the arc of a whole production. So if you think of a short film, except we're going to make it for YouTube, I'm going to help you think about the brainstorming of what do I want to do, what format do I want to do it in, what resources do I have or I could get, how can I kind of create that director's lookbook. And it could be for narrative, but it's also really intended for someone maybe that wants to create a YouTube series or a podcast series, but they just don't know. And so I actually will take people through the conception, through the brainstorming, through then the skills of an actor. Like, how do I use my body and my voice and my physicality? And then what camera should I use? And what microphone should I use? And then where do I put it? So I just walk people through that whole arc. So that's called the On Camera Academy. So lots of different projects right now, which is exciting. So those are all, you can find out about all of them on my website, which is kikalabs.com, KIKALABS.com, or just reach out to me and talk to me about what you're interested in and excited about, and we can go from there.
And that's what's great too, is that you have such a variety of projects that you're doing, from podcasting to coaching to acting. So you've got a little bit of everything, and that's variety is the spice of life. So that's awesome. And I'll include a link to your website in the show notes as well, so people can easily access it.
Beautiful.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much. I love talking with you, and I love the care and connection you have with all of your guests, and just kind of encouraging your audience and your community to get out there and create. That's so empowering and powerful. I appreciate it.
No, and I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate what you're doing too, because a lot of people don't have an avenue to conquer a fear, or even learn something simple as, how to place a camera for a job interview. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on and tell your story. This has been really incredible, and hope to have you back on the show in the future.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Derek.
Absolutely.
It's been a joy to talk with you.
Absolutely. And if you want to subscribe to the show, if you want to follow me on social media or subscribe to my YouTube channel, head over to linktree.com/realwisdompod. That's REEL Wisdom Pod. That's going to do it for this week's episode, and we'll see you guys back here next Thursday for another awesome episode of Real Wisdom with Derek Diamond.